Hello, welcome to the November edition of the All Regional Meetup. Now, today we are recording the session because unfortunately, due to lots of other things happening in the industry, we've hardly got anyone on the call and everyone's agreed that this is such an important topic that we should record it. So I'd like to welcome Orly and Marike to the session. They are two experienced coaches, obviously with experience as well in the veterinary sector, which is key. And so I'd like to hand over to them to introduce the topic of why someone would need a coach.
Great, thank you. Orly, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit more to start with, and then I'll take over, introduce myself, and then talk about what coaching is?
Yeah, thank you. That's great. So, hi everyone. My name's Orly Simpkin. I am a small animal vet and a coach. I've been working in the UK since 1999 and until 2018 in small animal practice. After that, I did a regional role where I was working with a large group of practices and helping them to improve the way that they work, both as far as patient safety goes and as far as sort of improving their leadership skills and various other training aspects. And that's how I discovered coaching. And I really think it's a very important tool to be used in order to help people to achieve what they want to achieve in their professional and even their personal lives. Marike, over to you.
So I'm Marike. I'm the founder of Dharma Coaching Consultancy, which I set up 2 years ago after first working as a vet, mainly in small animal practice for over a decade, then took the step into leadership. I also have a background in business. So I've got an MBA in coaching. And I'm very passionate about developing people, getting the most out of them, and really supporting the veterinary industry. So that was my drive to set up Dharma Coaching and Consultancy. And yeah, I've experienced myself the benefits of coaching. So we've realized that there's a lot of unknowns about coaching. A lot of people don't know what it really is and where it can be used for. So that's the thought behind today's session. So I'll start by talking a bit about what coaching is, what it isn't, different types of coaching, and then Orly will talk a bit more about the value of coaching within our sector. So what is coaching? Coaching is a dialogue. It's a dialogue between the coach and the coachee, and it has the goal to it's goal orientated. It's really much focused on achieving results, overcoming challenges, solving issues, but it's a very unique and tailored approach. So every coaching engagement is different, is unique, because it really depends on the coachee. It's a very collaborative partnership between the coach and the coachee. So it's very important that there is trust and rapport between the coach and the coachee. So that's why it's always good to just, talk to different coaches to find out which one you have a click. So the process of coaching is quite structured as well. So for the whole coaching engagement, we set goals. So at the start of the coaching engagement, we talk about what it is you want to achieve in that engagement. It may not be something in really detail before the start of the engagement, but during the first sessions, we'll really delve into it and try and make it as specific as possible. So we then have a structured approach through the whole engagement, in the sense that we usually start with an assessment and then work on different topics throughout the engagement. And we have regular check-ins to make sure we're still working towards the goal that you had in mind, or if that goal has shifted, we can adjust that as well. And every session is structured as well. We have for every session, at the start of the session, we agree on a goal for that session to really make the most of your time, because we know, how busy we all are. So we really want to get the most out of our time together. So we do that by really at the start of each session, really agree on the intent for the session, and then we work towards that. And as I said at the start, coaching is a dialogue. So you'll notice that the majority of the talking will not be done by the coach. It will be done by the coachee. So as a coach, we ask a lot of questions, open-ending questions, which might be a bit weird or uncomfortable to start with. And you might be asking, why is he or she asking all those questions? But it is to get you thinking a bit more about the issue and potential underlying thought process, perceptions that form the basis of your thinking, or will help you, by getting insight into that, will help you solve the issue at hand, or overcome a challenge. So it's also very much about empowerment and accountability. So it's during a coaching session or an engagement, you're really encouraged to take ownership of your own development. And as a coach, will help you to be accountable for that. And again, some people really like to be held accountable, and others maybe less so. So we also tend to ask at the start of an engagement, but also during a session, how much can I push you? How much, sometimes we're just like, oh, no, today, don't push me too much today, but another day, you really need to be held accountable. You really need to have that little push, and someone to ask you, last time you said you were going to do this. Have you done that? Sometimes you just need that to get the things done that you agreed, or that you really are keen to get done. So sometimes it helps to talk about what something isn't, to get more clarity about what it is. So coaching isn't therapy. It's we're not trying to fix a person. Coaching is usually something that is done with people who are high performing, are very good in what they do. They just want to become more efficient. They want to get better at what they're doing. They want to develop, or want to get more insight in themselves. So we're not going to delve into any traumatic past. However, we do, by asking all the open-ended questions and the approach that we use, we do get under the surface. So we may, uncover some perceptions or assumptions or limiting beliefs that you may have, that we may challenge, and you might uncover things about yourself that you weren't aware of, that you didn't know. But it's not therapy. As I said, we're not focused too much on the past. We're really forward looking, very goal orientated, action driven. It's also not management, although it's a great tool to use as a manager. Just one tool in your tool kit, but as a manager, you sometimes have to direct and tell, or teach. So it's a toolbox in a manager's a tool in a manager's toolbox. What else? It's not consulting, although some coaches like myself do a bit consulting as well. But in consulting, where the focus is more on analyzing and giving advice, whereas in coaching, we're very much looking for the coachee to find their own answers, because we, as a consultant, you may, give advice and think, oh, this is the best thing. This is how, it worked in the other practice, or this theory or this module is really good, but it might not be applicable for you and your practice. And you know best what works within your team. So a lot of the time, you as a coach, you already have all the answers. It's just, we just help unlocking that. So yeah, that's, one of the main benefits over consulting, I think. It's also not training or teaching, although training and teaching can be part of a coaching engagement if you want it to be. But again, with teaching, it's more about transferring knowledge and skills. If there is a knowledge gap or skill, then yes, some coaches can help by providing some workshops or training sessions, but that is not the main focus of a coaching engagement. What else? Mentoring. So it's not mentoring. So the same with mentoring is that as a mentor is usually someone who is senior to you in a role, has walked the path that you want to walk, has already walked that before you. And they then really advise you or bring you in contact with the right people. And yeah, based on their experience, they help and give you advice and support you to follow the same path. Again, so if you work with a coach who has fulfilled a role you aspire to fulfill as well, then yes, there may be some mentoring in that, if that is what you're looking for. But then, yeah, that is then specified more like, okay, now we're just doing more of a mentoring session, or you just take a pause and say, let's pause the coaching session. Is it, and the coach may then say, is it okay for me to share, my experience when I was in that position, I solved it. I took this approach. But yeah, that is the difference between coaching, sorry, and mentoring. And then the last thing maybe to point out is that coaching is not meant as an end resort in poor performance, because I think that is something that historically coaching has been used for, and it still has sometimes with some people that negativity label to it. But it's not the best way of using coaching, because as a coachee, you really need to be motivated. You really need to, as I said, take that ownership and be really involved in the coaching. And it's something that you positively want to do on your own accord, not something that is brought in or put upon you to do because people are not happy with how you're performing. So yeah, I wouldn't encourage to use coaching. If you put someone on a PIP process and then say, oh yeah, a part of that is you're gonna get some coaching. So yeah, I wouldn't do that.
I agree completely.
Yes. Yeah, different type of coaching. You've got, we can really delve into that really in detail, but broadly, you've got executive coaching, which is very much focused on leadership, developing management skills. Career coaching, if you're on a crossroad, if you don't quite know if you want to continue in the line of work that you're currently in, or if you want to step into a new role, coaching can help you get ready for that new role you're aspiring to. You've got performance coaching, life coaching, all different areas and topics that you can have coaching in, and are all different techniques and modules, but that's probably not really something to delve into at this stage.
Well,
So
that was very
Aurelie,
interesting, Marike. I mean, you know, all those different ways you can use a coach, and I think for me the most important thing that I've gotten from that was not to be put onto a coaching relationship, but actually wanting to do the changes, wanting to implement it yourself. I think that is key. It's that initial mindset to go, I'm going in because I want to get something out of this, not because someone else thinks I should get something out of it, because then you won't get the outcomes that you're looking for.
no,
So
exactly. Yeah.
great,
Yeah, 'cause
thank
you
you.
have to do-
I think it depends how you present it, because I have taken on coachees where the the manager is actually really wanting the best for that person, and they've had coaching themselves, so they they offer it as an option for that person. It's really important how that is presented, because if the person is told, oh, I think you should have coaching because you need to improve this and this, then absolutely what Marika says is right. You know, they feel like they're being punished and this is something wrong with them and that's why they need this. But absolutely, if you feel that this is something that would be appropriate for one of your colleagues, then suggesting it in that kind of way is fine. But the idea is absolutely, it's got to come from you. If you really want to change, you really want to improve something in yourself, you are going to get much more benefit out of it.
Yeah, because during the coaching process, you also need to be able to be vulnerable, to really open yourself up, to look inwards. And if you feel that it's something that's being forced upon you and you have to prove that you're the right person for the right job, you may not be as willing to really, be vulnerable and look at yourself, challenge ways you've been thinking or interacting with people. Yeah. So Orly, do you want to take over and maybe talk a bit about
I thought it might be helpful to also talk about the kinds of things that people come for and sort of the outcomes that they might be thinking of. And I think really it can be divided into sort of 4 groups. So it's sort of how the changing or improving how the coachee feels about something, how they think about something, maybe what they are doing and what they would like to achieve. So it's kind of, if we think about it in those sort of broad terms, if they may be feeling overwhelmed at work or anxious, or that they're unsure of themselves and they want to improve those feelings in connection with work. I see we have Debbie that's just joined us. Hi, Debbie.
Sorry, just a moment, Orly. Debbie, just so you know, contrary to normal practice, we are recording the session. Sorry, Orly, continue. Sorry.
That's all right, not a problem. So we're talking about sort of what would bring somebody to coaching. So they might feel like they want to change something about their approach to how they feel about certain situations. So improve their self-confidence, improve their motivation, their resilience, or their sort of response to stress, just improving their work-life balance, stuff like that. But thinking, they might want to be better at problem solving, at decision making, communication, stuff like that. Skills-based outcomes, sort of things that improving what they do. It might be something around improving their interpersonal skills, building better relationships at work, and then sort of result-based outcomes, sort of what they can achieve in their work is maybe improved KPIs, improved retention. There are so many different aspects of coaching that can help with all these issues that people have. And I think sometimes it's also just giving that person some clarity. Often we just get so stuck in a problem or stuck in something that we've been working on, or we're having a problem with. We can't see a way out. And may I share a slide, Angela? Because I'd like to demonstrate that with a picture rather than just talking, if that's okay.
Of course, go ahead.
Thank you. So just give me 1 second. See if that's coming up. Can you see that?
Not yet. There we go.
So can you tell me what you can see there, Angela?
I can see a young lady with her head turned away.
Yep, that's right. And that's the feather of her like head dress that she's wearing. And here's her nose.
Yeah.
Can you see anything else?
She's wearing a fur coat. I mean, because I have seen this picture before.
Should I ask somebody else?
I think you should ask someone else.
Chris, what can
Debbie,
you see in this picture?
what do you see?
An old man
Oh,
and a young lady.
So
thanks, Debbie.
is that the old person's nose? Over there, can you see it? And
I've lost the picture. I'm out walking my dogs. I do apologize.
Oh, sorry, that's okay. I see an old lady, but it's an older person anyway. So here's the nose.
Yeah, with
of that
his nose.
older person in the middle,
yeah.
and that's the chin there,
Yeah.
and that's the mouth, and that's the eye. So for me, I really love this picture, because this is what one of the things that coaching can help you with, is actually both of those things are there, but you're not aware of it. And coaching just helps you get that slight different perspective on something, which then can actually help you get some fresh ideas, fresh insight, fresh ways of looking at a problem that can then hopefully spur you forward. And when I see that happening in my coachee, when I can see that's just clicked on something, it's just such an amazing experience. That's why we do it. I can see Marika, you nodding there. It's just so wonderful to see somebody actually solve their own problem. And I think that's, you were saying about the difference between mentoring and coaching. In coaching, the coachee is the expert of their own life, and they are resourceful and they are creative, and they do have those answers. They just need somewhere to be able to be listened to and to just express themselves without being worried about being judged, without any repercussions to what they might be saying, just to have that space to explore, to think, and to allow themselves to believe in themselves.
Yeah, it's so powerful when that happens. Yeah, and when as a coachee, when you're being used and you experience it, you feel it in your body, and then it sticks, and then you get long-lasting change or effect. And whereas if you go to a training, or if someone gives you advice, it doesn't penetrate you as deeply. I think that's how I think you really feel it when that click happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And as we were saying earlier, sometimes it's that magic of coaching sometimes happens in between sessions as well. So it's not always in the session with a coach. Sometimes it's in between the session. So then the next session, someone may come back and say, you said that, or we talked about that the last time. It didn't quite click during the session, but then a few days later, it sort of clicked with me, and I get it now, and I now know what to do. Yeah, that's great when that happens.
Amazing. Yeah, and that's actually why the sessions tend to be not too close together and over a fair amount of time, because your brain actually needs time to process these things, and you need to practice maybe different ways of being or different ways of thinking. So it's not something that you would do, say, for, I don't know, for a weekend, like you would go to do a clinical CPD for a weekend to learn how to do a certain type of surgical procedure. This is something where you actually need to work at it, and you need a bit of time in between those sessions so that you can actually process and work things through. So usually we're looking at sort of a period of time of about 6 months, maybe 3 months at probably the least. I have people that I work with for a year, and we sort of see them on a monthly basis or every few weeks, depending on what works for them. So it's a longer game that we're playing.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I've never contemplated how long that would be as a relationship. And I suppose if you're relying on the individual to make those connections and kind of bring their mindset to whatever it is that they're working on, they need time. It's not like press a button and yay, I'm cured kind of thing. Not that it's a cure, but you know that kind of
absolutely.
mindset. That's interesting.
And that's why that relationship is so important, because actually it's the relationship that makes that coaching engagement work. And that's, it's been proven in various research studies that it's more that relationship than the tools that the coach uses or the environment that they're in. It's actually that partnership that is created between the coach and the coachee that helps them then to develop and move forward.
Could I ask a question at this point?
Please do.
Yeah, how do you work out that you've got a good match between coach and coachee?
I'll start with that, and then Marika, you can fill in if that's okay. So I always do I call it a chemistry session. People call it a discovery session, which is basically a free call before I take on the actual coachee as a client, where I tell them a little bit about me, about how I work, and I ask them about what it is that they want, what's important to them, why they want to do this, and we kind of get a feel for each other and decide sort of, is this going to work? And sometimes that's the place where I notice that actually this person would benefit from something other than coaching. So, as a coach, I have to be honest with that person and say, look, do you know what? Actually, I think therapy is probably going to be better for you, or mentoring, or, whatever the case may be. So it's not always the case that, you take that person on because it might not actually be right for them. And then throughout the engagement, we just kind of check in with each other and just like, is this still working for you? Are you happy with the way we're going? Normally at halfway through, I kind of just, again, we'll just do a bit of a recap. So this is what we said at the beginning. Is this still happening for you? And if it isn't, then, I ask my coaches from the beginning that I need them to be honest with me. And if they are not finding it helpful, then I'll stop the engagement. There's no point in just making people come and it's not working for them. I haven't had anyone that it hasn't worked for yet, but I'm sure that's possible. Marika, what about you?
Yeah, no, exactly the same. I echo everything you said. I do the same thing. And even during every session, as I said before, we at the start of the session, we agree on what the goal is for that session, but then throughout the session, we got a few points, I just check in. Are you still happy with where we're going? Do you want, is this still the most useful useful time, way of using your time during this session? Or do you now maybe feel that you know enough about what we're now talking about? Do you want to now discuss something else? So we can shift that, because sometimes people process things quicker, or even you think, oh yeah, for this session, say we've got an hour, we'll focus on a certain topic, but then after 10 or 15 minutes, sometimes someone already knows what they want to do, and then there's no point of using the remainder of that session to just continue to talk about it. And just if you already say if you already are where you want to be on that particular topic, then it's absolutely fine to say, okay, yeah, let's just talk about something else now. So yeah, that's I think throughout the whole engagement. And yes, those chemistry sessions or discovery call or whatever you call it is really, really important.
Yeah, because there has to be, doesn't there, enough similarity between you as personalities to be able to build a rapport, but enough difference for you to be able to challenge. So do you kind of assess that really just through these conversations and through a bit of a gut feel, or do you use you know, any sort of science or pseudoscience techniques?
No, with me, there's no science. It's just, how, during that conversation, do I think that I can help them achieve the goals they want to achieve? Is it achievable? Is it realistic? Do I think they are coachable? That also plays a part, because not everyone is as coachable as they may think they are or want to be. So I think it's both ways. It has to work from both directions, because it's a collaborative process that way.
Sorry, Debbie, do you have a question? No? Sorry.
I have another question. And do you focus solely on one-to-one coaching, or do you do team coaching as well?
Team coaching as well, but the majority is one-to-one coaching. But can also do team coaching. Yeah.
And what topics, sorry, would you look at when you're doing team coaching, just for interest?
It can be the communication within the team, where they feel that they're not working as efficiently together. It can be to set up a social contract within the practice, or look at culture-wise if they've got problem with culture.
Building psychological safety, working on sort of whatever the goals are of the team. So sometimes they don't even really know what's not working, so then they kind of need a little bit of almost like an analysis of what's actually, how they're working, what's going on, understanding the team dynamics before you can actually then coach them as a team. And that can be challenging.
Using technology, I don't know about you, but I find when I'm coaching, mentoring one-to-one on Teams or Zoom or whatever, that's kind of okay, that's fine, but from a kind of team perspective it must be very difficult as well. How do you find, do you do a mix of virtual and face-to-face coaching, or are you mostly virtual these days?
So I do mostly virtual, but also in practice. And I also have, what I call coaching on the moors, where I go outside with my coachees, where we meet in the national park, and do a walk and coach. So, because sometimes it's better to just be outside, be away from the practice, but also, there's that combination of being active, being outside, walking, and then the connection with the brain, the body-brain connection. Sometimes that can be really beneficial. But practically doesn't always work for everyone. It takes more time. So the fact that we can do coaching virtually in our busy lives is quite easy and time efficient.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same, mostly virtual, but I will go to somebody's place of work or practice if that's what they want. And usually for a group or for a team, then you do need somewhere where you can all be together in person, because the dynamics are completely different, and you get a much better sense of that if you're actually in the room with them. I really like the outdoor coaching and then the nature coaching, because I think it also puts people in a completely different headspace. It's a lot calmer, there's a lot less anxiety, there's a lot less sort of maybe tension between people when they're outside, and they can focus on outside. But it's not always practical.
And it's also not face to face. Sometimes people find it also with virtual, you're just looking at the screen, and you see yourself as well, which some people just don't like as well, and they're just very conscious. Whereas when you're outside and you're walking alongside each other, that sometimes makes it easier to open up.
And the other thing that I'm thinking about starting but haven't yet done is actually group coaching, and that's where they're not necessarily from the same team, but they might have the same role or the same challenges or the same things that they'd like to work on, and actually the power of the group also acts as almost another coach, because they coach each other as well as being, you know, supported and coached by me. So there's just so many aspects to coaching that we could tap into, and that I really believe our profession needs. So
can I ask one question? If you were talking to someone who's a potential coachee, what questions should they be asking a potential coach to make sure it's the right fit? Are there any questions that you go, I'm just going to tell them because they should be asking me this to kind of make sure that we're a good fit? Or is
that's
that
a brilliant question, Angela.
Yeah.
I
think that also depends on what they're after, what the goal is, and whether or not it's pure coaching that they're after, or whether or not they are also looking maybe for a bit of mentoring or consulting or training. So if it's more mixed, for instance, they're also looking for a mentor, then, you know, maybe delve a bit more in the background of their knowledge and experience within the veterinary sector. I think what is also maybe good to mention is that coaching isn't a regulated profession. So maybe just asking a bit more about, you know, their qualifications and how they train to become a coach is maybe also something, you know, what sort of techniques or frameworks they use. I think that's sort of the first thing that pops to mind. I don't know if you...
And I think maybe also asking them, you know, what kind of issues have people come to you for coaching for? So, you know, what have you helped? What kind of issues have you helped with? Maybe if you notice that I'm going off track, how would you bring me back on track?
Yeah. And maybe if you like, you could ask them if you could speak to one of their clients, one of their coaches, to get a bit more of an idea of how they work and if it's the right fit for you.
Yeah, because I think for me, it's well, if I'm talking just about myself, it's the, not worry, but the concern that I'm picking the person that maybe has the right experience for the issue that I'm trying to work through, or whatever it is. So, you know, it's almost like an interview, isn't it? That discovery call on both sides, to make sure that they've got, you know, that what they're looking for is what you can help them with, and that you have the right skill set and the right experience. And as you say, it's not regulated, so it's important to find out what their background is to make sure that you're giving yourself the best chance for a good outcome.
Do your research. Just check them out. Check the website, LinkedIn profile, everything, and just see if that person is the right one for you and what your needs are.
Great. Does anyone have any more questions? Because I know we've got about 4 minutes left, and as I say, we don't normally record these sessions, but we have done it today because everyone else, there's lots going on in the sector at the moment, and we really felt that this was important for people to understand the value and what coaching can bring to you. So if there aren't any other questions, I'm going to end the recording, or if the two of you would like to add one last thing about the topic, if you want.
I could quickly just add that coaching is absolutely part of CPD, and therefore, if you know, if you were wondering about how you're going to fund it, it's, you know, it is part of your professional development, and it's absolutely, you know, legitimately CPD. So it counts as CPD for your number of hours that you need to do, and it should be funded as part of your general CPD budget that you have for your practice. One quick thing, I know you were saying about top tips for coming to coaching. I think maybe giving yourself the time before and after the session. So thinking about how are you going to best benefit from it. If you're in the middle of your busy day and in between consults, you quickly do a coaching session, it's probably not going to be as helpful to you as if you've actually got a little bit of time before just to calm down, to think about yourself for a change and not about all the other responsibilities that you have, and thinking a little bit afterwards as well as to just having that time to reflect about what you've just thought about and had in your coaching, rather than going straight back into theatre or going straight back into your practice management meeting that you have to do. So if you want to really benefit from it, allow yourself to do so.
Yeah,
That's a good tip.
great tips. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and also I think it's good to remind ourselves that coaching is something that is a tool that's well used in other sectors as well. A lot of very successful people are in their position because they have engaged in coaching, or they still have a coach. So it's something that is accessible to everyone, and also something to just feel okay and normal about. It's not something that that is only for the happy few. It's something that can benefit everyone, and financially as well. It's not out of most people's reach. So
Fantastic. Well, Marika and Orly, thank you so much for your time today. I'm sorry we didn't get as many attendees as we normally would like, but I think this is valuable, and anyone who's watching this can find the recording on our YouTube channel in the new year or in December. So they can always refer back to this and actually share it with everybody else in their teams who's kind of thinking about it and things like that. So thank you very much all for your time. Debbie and Chris, thank you for joining us. Thank you for doing it on your dog walk, Debbie. That's very nice of you. And Chris, thank you for using your lunch break to join us as well. Thanks,
Marika and Orly. Lovely chatting to you, and I look forward to catching up with you a bit more on this subject over the next month or two. Yeah.
And Angela, thank you, and thank you to the VMG for giving us this opportunity, and to the VMG for being there for things like this, and for supporting our teams and our leaders. I think it's really important that you're there. So thank you.
yeah,
Thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.
thank you. Bye.
Bye.